Revealed, how a heartwarming encounter with two twins transformed an arrogant billionaire's life forever. On a frosty autumn evening, the vibrant, fiery leaves danced in the wind while Jack Milton, a 45-year-old billionaire soaked in privilege, sped through the picturesque suburb of Weston in his sleek, black luxury car. He cradled his phone, captivated by the voice on the other end discussing the latest tech acquisition that would further inflate his already overstuffed bank account. To Jack, success was nothing less than air, something he breathed in while dismissing the lives of anyone he deemed unworthy. But as he passed through the neighborhood, the laughter of children echoed down the streets. Mia and Max, twin siblings filled with youthful exuberance, raced home on their bikes, fresh from the joys of school. In a heartbeat, in a moment of distraction fueled by arrogance, tragedy struck. Jack's heart raced not from fear, but from the empty bravado that convinced him he was above consequences. He glanced in his rearview mirror just as the twins tumbled to the ground, tires screeching to a halt. Panic washed over him, but instead of stopping, he pressed the accelerator, fleeing into the darkening night as shame clawed at him. In the blink of an eye, the community erupted into action. Their single mother, Sarah, a military veteran with a bond to her children as fierce as the coming storm, rushed to their side, heart throbbing with despair. The warmth of neighbors gathered around her was a stark contrast to Jack's cold detachment. They whispered amongst themselves, their faces twisted with indignation, as they wondered what kind of man would harm children and drive off without a second thought. Days turned into nights, and Jack could feel the weight of his guilt creeping in like a winter chill. Despite this growing apprehension, arrogance held him prisoner. He convinced himself that accepting responsibility was for less endowed souls. Little did he know, destiny had other plans in store. In a bizarre twist of fate, Jack found himself at a charity event. He organized a facade to smooth his reputation. Amongst the glittering lights and laughter of the wealthy, there stood Sarah and her twins. The moment Jack's eyes landed on Mia and Max, their radiant smiles glimmered with resilience, piercing through the walls of his indifference. Yet, it hit him like a tidal wave when Sarah took the stage. Her voice trembled with anger but softened as she spoke of love and sacrifice. Each word ignited a flicker of empathy in Jack, forcing him to confront the abyss of emotion he had denied for so long. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as Jack felt the surge of emotion swell within him, the air shifted. He realized that his insincere gestures had only dug a deeper chasm between him and the community he sought to impress. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some wore disappointment on their faces, others whispered of hope. The twins looked up at him with such innocent forgiveness, their hands outstretched, forcing him to grapple with the gaping divide of privilege and hardship. Suddenly, as if the universe conspired against him, Sarah headed towards him, a storm brewing in her eyes. Jack was faced with an undeniable truth: his wealth could buy many things, but it never bought humanity. In that moment, everything changed. He could no longer live in comfortable denial. He stood at a precipice, grappling with the weight of his choices. Would he rise to meet the challenge or allow his arrogance to shatter the fragile glimmers of compassion igniting in his heart? The answer hung precariously in the balance, balancing on the edge of justice, forgiveness, and the cost of true transformation. Jack's heart thudded against his ribcage as Sarah approached, her expression a tempest of pain and fury. He could see the fiery candles of defiance in her steely eyes, yet also a flicker of something else. Was it hope? A faint, desperate yearning for justice? "Jack Milton," she said, voice steady but laced with tension. "So, here you are. Here to play the benevolent billionaire. To act like you care." He opened his mouth to deny it, to explain how this charity event was meant to uplift the community he had wronged. But the words caught in his throat like jagged stones. Instead, he stood, silently absorbing her anguish, the anger pouring out of her like rain. You have no idea what it feels like to watch your children suffer. Sarah continued, her voice rising with each syllable. You think money can erase your mistakes? What about the scars you leave behind? As she spoke, Jack felt the heat of shame wash over him. Pain flickered across her face, a mirror reflecting his own inner turmoil. He wanted to explain his life, his struggles, but the truth felt so insignificant compared to the weight of her pain. Around them, guests started shifting uncomfortably, some casting pitying glances, others whispered in hushed tones, unsure of what to say. How could they witness the collision of wealth and heartache without feeling the gravity of the moment? Jack fumbled for a response that didn't come. Instead, he felt his defenses crumbling, layer by layer, the facade of indifference tearing apart. I'm sorry, he confessed, the words barely escaping his lips. It felt almost foreign, like a language he had forgotten. The crowd hushed, the rich air thick with disbelief. Sorry. That's it? Sarah shot back, her brow furrowing. She gestured towards Mia and Max behind her, their bright eyes dimmed by worry. Sorry doesn't fix what you've done. A small crack formed in Jack's heart. He could no longer pretend this was about him. It was about those twins, about Sarah, about the entire community. Every voice in the crowd pushed him to take responsibility, to step away from the shadows of his privilege. He took a deep breath, a wave of determination washing over him. You're right, he said, his voice gaining strength. I can't change what happened. But I can try to make it right. Sarah blinked, taken aback. Jack had never intended to say those words. They felt weighty yet liberating, the first step on a path he had never considered. Let me help you, he continued, urgency now blazing in his chest. I want to support your family, the community. Not as a ploy, but because it's what I should have done from the start. He glanced at the twins, still clutching one another's hands as if drawing strength. I want to be a better person, for you both. His heart raced as he spoke, uncertainty curling at the edges of his resolve. Would they believe him? Could he truly transform? Sarah's eyes softened slightly. Jack wasn't sure if it was hope creeping in or skepticism, but he saw a shift. In that moment, he realized he would have to show them he meant it through action, not just words. There was a long road ahead, filled with fear and uncertainty. But as he looked at Mia and Max, a spark of newfound determination ignited within him. Jack was ready to confront his past and rebuild something far more valuable than wealth, a bridge of compassion and trust. As he considered his next steps, a flicker of doubt crept in, grounding him. How would he convince a community steeped in sorrow to welcome him back? Can people really change? He wondered aloud, suddenly seeking clarity. The answer shimmered just out of reach, as daunting yet enticing as the future itself. As Jack pondered the depths of transformation, the night wore on, and he knew this was just the beginning of a journey that would demand everything from him. Would he have the courage to face the consequences and truly seek redemption, or would his past mistakes weigh him down forever? Jack stood there, the gaze of the crowd heavy on his shoulders. For a moment, the room hummed with tension, the delicate balance of hope and doubt hanging in the air. Sarah's eyes were still locked onto his, piercing, searching for the truth behind his words. It felt like a duel, each of them wielding their emotional weapons. Help us? Sarah repeated, disbelief thick in her voice. How do I know it won't just be more of your empty promises? Jack opened his mouth to respond but stopped short. He didn't have the perfect answer ready. All he had was the genuine ache in his heart, the weight of responsibility that had settled over him like a lead blanket. I can show you, he said finally, his voice steady now. Let me prove it. He took a step closer, and the crowd held its breath. The twins, Mia and Max, watched with wide eyes, unsure of who this man was supposed to be. What kind of billionaire would want to help them? Jack felt exposed, but not in the way he expected. It wasn't humiliation that coursed through him, it was a fire and need to make things right, no matter how daunting that task seemed. I can't fix the past, he admitted slowly, but I can be here for you going forward. Maybe I can help with the resources I have, whether it's for medical bills, education, or just something that brings a smile to their faces. Sarah's expression shifted slightly, more contemplative than angry now. You think money can buy happiness? You think you can just throw cash around and it changes everything? He shook his head. No. It's not just about money. It's about being present. About listening, and understanding. I know I have a long way to go, but I want to step into this community, not as a savior, but as someone willing to learn from you from your experiences. The crowd murmured, some in disbelief, others in muted admiration. Jack could feel both Sarah's skepticism and the tiniest flicker of hope igniting in her heart. Maybe they could find a common ground, even if it felt shaky at first. Fine, Sarah said, her voice firm but less fractured than before. But if you're truly serious, there's a community center that needs help. We've been struggling to keep it open since the last round of budget cuts. If you mean what you say, Jack nodded without hesitation, relief washing over him. Consider it done. I'll do whatever it takes to support that center. Before she could respond, he added, and I want to offer a scholarship for both Mia and Max, for whatever they want to pursue in the future. I can't undo my past, but I can help build something better. Mia and Max exchanged glances, and in that silence, Jack saw a flicker of something he longed for: trust. Sarah's shoulders dropped just a bit, the hardness in her expression softening. We'll see, Jack. Talk is cheap. Actions speak volumes. Determination surged within him. This was not just an opportunity, it was his chance to rewrite his narrative. To craft a life marked by connection rather than isolation. As his heart raced, he felt the urge to reach out to the twins, to reassure them that he meant what he said. Before he acted, though, he hesitated, wanting to make sure he would not break their tentative trust. Can we start with a meal or something? Maybe a day at the center? He suggested, envisioning laughter and warmth, the kind he had long forgotten amid the cold gleam of wealth. Sarah looked at the twins, who nodded, their curiosity peeking through their wariness. All right, she relented, but don't think it'll be easy. You'll have to earn our trust, Jack. Understood, he replied, a grin breaking through his anxiety. It felt good to feel the warmth of potential friendships, the chance to really make a difference. In that moment, as daylight began to fade outside, hope flickered between them like a candle in the dark, a fragile yet undeniable connection, waiting to be nurtured. As they spoke further, planning their next steps, Jack couldn't shake his anticipation. Each moment was pregnant with the unknown, a mixture of fear and excitement that buzzed under his skin. But just as he felt the glimmer of possibility, doubt nibbled at the edges of his heart once more. Could he really change the narrative? Before he could articulate his fears, Mia spoke up, her voice soft yet assertive, but what if you change your mind? What if you leave us like everyone else? Jack's breath caught in his throat. The twins' vulnerability echoed a truth he hadn't truly faced: the past had a way of haunting the present. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of those words sink in. How could he reassure them when a part of him feared he would disappoint? Then, he said finally, I won't let you down. I'll keep my promises, no matter how hard it gets. The crowd remained silent, their eyes glued to him, witnessing the transformation of the man they once saw only as an arrogant billionaire. And in that moment, Jack knew he was at the brink of a journey that would define him not just as a figure of wealth, but as a man seeking to mend the wounds he had caused. Would this journey truly lead him to redemption, or would the ghosts of his past drag him back into the shadows? Jack couldn't shake Mia's words from his mind. What if you leave us like everyone else? The innocent question pierced through him, leaving a cold dread swirling in his stomach. He faced challenges in business, had meetings that made his palms sweat. But nothing compared to the looming responsibility of these kids' trust. The air had shifted. As Jack turned back to Sarah, her face showed a mix of scrutiny and cautious hope. "You know," she whispered, almost hesitant, "a lot of people have come in here with big talks. We've heard I can help way too often and nothing ever changes." "I get that," Jack said, the sincerity in his voice cutting through his earlier bravado. "But I mean it. I want to be different." He wasn't just speaking to Sarah, he was speaking to the twins too. "I want to be a part of your lives. And I know it won't happen overnight." "Prove it," Sarah challenged, the bite still lingering. "Take your first step. Volunteer at the community center. Show us you care." "Done," he replied, the promise rolling off his tongue like a pledge. The conviction in his heart surged up, drowning out the doubts. As the crowd began to disperse, Jack felt an unexpected burden lifting. Perhaps this was the stepping stone he needed. The messy, uncertain beginnings of a better future. Later that evening, Jack drove to the community center, the weight of anxiety piled atop determination. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he imagined the sounds of laughter, the joy of children playing and learning. As he parked, the glow of the center welcomed him like a beacon. Inside, the chaos of kids filled the space. Giggles bounced from the walls, while a volunteer tried to wrangle art supplies scattered everywhere. Jack couldn't help but smile. This was life, vibrant and chaotic, far removed from the sterile luxury of his previous existence. "Hey! You must be the new guy," a woman called out, waving him over. Her name tag read Lisa, a bright smile lighting up her features. "Yeah, I'm here to help," he replied, the words tinged with a sincerity that shocked even himself. "Great! We could always use an extra pair of hands. Have you ever painted a mural?" she asked, leading him toward a wall covered in white canvas. No. But I can try," he shrugged, a mix of amusement and trepidation rising in him. Half an hour later, paint splattered across his hands and shirt, Jack felt something shift inside him. The walls were filled with bright colors, laughter, and friendly banter echoed around him. Children darted past, their faces lit with joy, and the tension mounting in Jack's chest began to evaporate. "Nice work!" Mia exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she admired their makeshift artwork. "You're not bad for a billionaire." Laughter erupted from a group of kids nearby. Jack couldn't help but chuckle too, feeling a warmth spreading through him that he hadn't tasted in years. "Let us make it even better," he said, pointing to patches of white still visible on the wall. "What ideas do you have?" Mia leaned closer. "We could paint our dreams," she suggested, her voice quiet yet enthusiastic. Max nodded vigorously, a grin spreading across his face. Jack's heart swelled. "Let us do it. This is just the beginning." As the night went on with paint-covered hands and vibrant conversations, Jack felt a sense of purpose he had long since forgotten. He wasn't just idle wealth, he was creating something real. But then that nagging doubt returned, creeping into the corners of his mind. What if this was just a fleeting feeling? Would he still care tomorrow when the novelty wore off? The laughter of the children echoed in his ears, and for the first time in a long while, Jack understood why he had come here. It was about forging real connections. As he stood back to examine their artwork, he couldn't shake the thought of how things could twist or turn. "But what if I fail them?" he whispered under his breath, the idea piercing his hopeful bubble. And suddenly, Mia's voice cut through his inner turmoil. "Jack." He turned to see her standing there, her small hand gripping Max's. "Will you come back? Tomorrow? We want you to help us do more." Their innocent faces waited for his response, fragile hope resting in their eyes. At that moment, Jack realized this wasn't just about him making a change, but about being a part of their lives, and trusting himself to stay. But could he truly be the man they needed? As the sun began to set outside, glimmers of orange danced through the windows, and Jack's heart raced once more with the weight of infinite possibilities. The next day, Jack felt a twitch of excitement mixed with anxiety as he made his way back to the community center. After an entire night grappling with self-doubt, he had barely slept. He replayed Mia's question over and over in his mind, each time it felt heavier. What if he didn't come through? What if today he faltered? He parked quickly, the familiar glow of the center already promising a sense of belonging only reinforcing his new commitment. As soon as Jack stepped inside, a cacophony of laughter filled the air. Children buzzed around him, their energy electrifying and contagious. He smiled, the tension in his chest easing just a little. Jack! Over here! Mia's voice rang out, pulling him from his thoughts. She and Max waved enthusiastically, drawing him toward a corner where a bright, yet unfinished mural awaited their attention. Look! Mia exclaimed, pointing to their initial work, now speckled with new colors and playful images of suns, flowers, and kids holding hands. We want to add more about our dreams today. Jack's heart warmed at her enthusiasm. All right. Let us get some ideas flowing. What does everybody want to add? Hands shot up around him. Kids shouted suggestions that ranged from silly to profound. One boy wanted a dragon, while another girl wanted to paint a rainbow that could take her to the stars. Jack found himself jotting down ideas, fully engaged in their youthful exuberance. As they began to paint, Jack was reminded of how isolated he had felt among the tall buildings of wealth he frequented. Here, he felt grounded, part of something bigger than himself, a community, a family. With every stroke of paint, their dreams seemed to come alive on the wall. Each child shared a piece of themselves, and he realized it was as much about their stories as it was about the artwork. Jack! Max suddenly exclaimed, a frown knitting his brows. What if this washes away when it rains? The question hung in the air. Jack paused, and for a moment, his heart sank. All that effort, all that hope, was it so fragile? You know, he responded carefully, these dreams won't wash away. They exist here. Jack pointed at his heart. And here, he added, tapping the wall, in each of us. That's what makes them powerful, right? Mia nodded slowly, absorbing his words. She might have only been a child, but she understood the weight of feeling secure in your dreams even if others doubted. With renewed determination, they finished adding the last touches. Jack felt a surge of satisfaction. Suddenly, a gentle rhythm of applause broke out from a group of parents who had come to visit. Jack turned to see them smiling, their eyes lit up with pride as they observed the vibrant mural coming to life. Look at that! One mother exclaimed, her voice filled with warmth. It's beautiful. You really are making a difference, Jack. The praise pulled Jack from his thoughts and filled him with a heady mix of joy and urgency. Here he was, barely days into this journey, and he was already shaping their environment in a way that mattered. But just as a smile overtook his face, he caught a glimpse of Sarah standing to the side. Her expression was unreadable, a mixture of admiration and skepticism. You've got to keep this up, she said quietly, her tone firm. We need consistency, not just art for one day. Jack's heart twinged again under the weight of her words. It wasn't enough to just show up, he had to continually prove he could be the man he wanted to be. Yes, he nodded, meeting her gaze. I will. I swear I'll be here for you all. This is just the start. The kids cheered around him, drawn into the electric energy of their latest creation. But as he stood there, surrounded by laughter and hope, Jack felt the stirring of new questions, a desire bubbling up within him. What other ways could he impact their lives? Clarity struck, revealing an even greater challenge ahead. Okay, everyone. How about we organize a community event? Jack said suddenly, excitement bursting in his chest. We can showcase our artwork and share our stories. Cheers erupted from the kids, invigorating Jack as he looked around. But as joy high-fived his spirit, doubt danced in the shadows. Would he really be up for it? As the day turned to dusk, Jack's heart raced anew, not just with anticipation but with vulnerability. Could he embrace this challenge, not just as another task but as a new chapter in their intertwined lives? Outside, the sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of violet and orange, mirroring the choices he faced. Would he dive deeper into this journey or retreat into the comfort of his old life? What would the stakes be for the community that had just begun to trust him? And would he conquer his fears, or risk leaving them behind, just as they worried he might? The following morning, Jack woke with a tight knot in his stomach. The excitement from the day before felt just out of reach, and the weight of Sarah's words lingered in his mind. He sat up and ran a hand through his hair, staring at the sunlight creeping in through the window, casting bright patterns across his floor. He had dreamt about the community event, feeling the energy of the kids around him, yet it was mixed with a tangible fear that threatened to pull him back. What if no one showed up? What if it all fell apart? He shook his head, pushing the negative thoughts away. No, this wasn't just about him. It was about the kids. They had already given him so much, now he needed to give back. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed a notebook and headed to the community center. The familiar smell of fresh paint still lingered in the air as he walked through the doors. The children were already bustling around, animated chatter filling the space. Mia waved him over with a wide smile, her excitement infectious. "Jack! We have so many ideas for the event," she exclaimed. "Like what?" he asked, grinning at her enthusiasm. "Food. Games. Music," chimed in Max, bouncing on his feet. Jack couldn't help but laugh at their energy. "All right, let us hear them all." As they gathered in a circle, Jack took notes as the kids proposed their plans. The air buzzed with laughter and dreams of balloons and cupcakes, each child eager to share their thoughts. Yet behind their joy, Jack could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Then, just as he was feeling buoyed by their infectious spirit, Sarah stepped in with her arms crossed. "Are you really going to follow through with all this? It sounds like a lot." Her skepticism hit him harder than he expected. He took a deep breath, rolling his shoulders back. "Yes, I will. This event is important to me. I promise it will be amazing." Mia and Max grinned at him, reinforcing his determination. "We have your back, Jack," they shouted, and just like that, his resolve strengthened. As they spent the following hours planning, they painted new visions onto the mural. Each brushstroke felt like a pledge. Jack was not just creating something beautiful, he was building a bridge between him and the community. By early afternoon, the kids had come up with a name for their event, Community Dreams Day. They even designed a bright poster, filled with their colorful ideas and drawn with youthful enthusiasm. "Let us put it right out front," he said as they taped it to the center's window. It felt oddly symbolic, a commitment not just to themselves, but also to the world outside. But as they cheered and laughed, Jack couldn't shake the uncertainty creeping back in. What if no one came? What if the day flopped? Suddenly, the voices of the children felt muffled under the weight of his fears, and his brain spiraled into doubt. Later, when the last of the kids went home, Jack lingered at the center, staring at the mural. He ran his fingers across the vibrant colors, each section telling a story. Maybe the event would be a reflection of those stories, the raw dreams of children daring to hope. They deserved to share their dreams, just as he did. Could he finally cast aside the shadows of his past? That night, sleep eluded him again. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, challenged by the sheer weight of what was ahead. But somewhere deep within, a spark ignited. This was bigger than him. It was about creating something lasting, meaningful. He thought of Mia's hopeful eyes, Max's boundless energy, and felt a flicker of motivation. As he prepared for the morning, he punched his fists into the air. "Tomorrow is the start of something big," he whispered to himself. But the next day brought an unexpected twist. Just as Jack stepped into the center, he overheard a conversation. Two parents were questioning whether to trust the plans he'd laid out. Is he really ready for this? One murmured. Jack's heart dropped. Would he ever shake off their doubt? What if he couldn't meet their expectations? Or worse, what if he let the kids down? Questions swirled in his mind as Jack realized that the day ahead held more uncertainty than he had anticipated. Would he be able to turn his fears into fuel for the community that needed him? As the event drew closer, Jack stood on the precipice of change, wondering if he would rise to the challenge or let the shadows of insecurity pull him back once more. Jack took a deep breath, bracing himself as the morning sunlight streamed into the community center. The lingering whispers from the parents echoed in his ears, setting off a chorus of unease in his chest. He had envisioned today as a celebration, a bright moment for kids like Mia and Max who deserved every chance to dream big. Yet, now it felt like a test he wasn't sure he was ready to take. The walls of the center were adorned with banners the kids had made, each one bursting with color and imagination. They were filled with words like joy, hope, and dreams. Jack couldn't help but smile at the sight, the visual proof of their excitement. But that smile faltered when he thought about the expectations resting on his shoulders. Just then, Mia and Max bounded in, clutching bags filled with supplies. Jack! We brought the decorations! Mia exclaimed, her eyes shining with determination. Jack straightened, shaking off his doubts momentarily. That's great, you too. Let us get everything set up. As Jack started arranging the tables, he managed to find comfort in their enthusiasm. Their laughter and chatter filled the room, pushing back the shadows of his worry, if only for a moment. As the morning rolled on, more children arrived, bringing their own flair, ideas, and energy. The atmosphere moved from doubt towards excitement, punctuated by the sound of laughter and the crinkling of plastic bags filled with goodies. Jack looked around, feeling the weight in his chest begin to lift. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. But just before noon, Sarah arrived, her face a mixture of concern and curiosity. Jack, we need to talk, she said, her tone serious. About what? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. It's just some parents think it's too chaotic. They're worried about the games and how things will be managed. The weight of her words hit him like a punch to the gut. Jack's heart started racing again. He glanced around at the kids setting up their games, and the sudden fear that had been lurking crept back in. But they're excited, Sarah. We planned this all together. They deserve a chance. I know, she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. But as the organizer, you have to reassure the parents, too. It can't feel unstructured. With a sigh, Jack nodded, swallowing down the dry lump in his throat. You're right. I'll give it a shot. As the event began, he tried to find a balance between the needs of the parents and the joy of the children. He moved from group to group, checking in on them, offering reassurance, and putting out small fires of concern when they cropped up. Mia and Max shone with confidence, leading their peers in games, their laughter infectious. Suddenly, as Jack was helping to set up a tug-of-war, he saw a familiar face approach him from across the playground. It was Mrs. Taylor, a parent he recognized. Would she add to the wave of doubt that was threatening to break over him? Hey, Mr. Jack. She called out, her tone warm but cautious. I just wanted to thank you for doing all this. I can see how excited the kids are. It means a lot. Her words struck a chord, bringing a rush of warmth to his heart. Really? I just hope they're having fun, he replied, a smile breaking through his tension. They are. And it's great to see the community coming together. With that, Mrs. Taylor gave him a reassuring nod before heading off to check on her child. Jack felt lighter, buoyed by her support. Maybe, just maybe, he was capable of pulling this off. He took a deep breath, focusing on the moment as he watched the kids dive into a game of three-legged race. As laughter rang out, Jack's pulse steadied. For the first time today, he felt like he might actually be doing something right. With every small victory, his confidence grew. The sun shone bright overhead, bathing everything in warmth. Just then, he noticed a child sitting on the sidelines, a little girl with tousled hair. She didn't join the groups around her and seemed lost in thought. Jack's heart twisted. She looked so lonely. "Hey there," he called, walking over to her. "What's your name?" She glanced up, her big eyes pooling with uncertainty. "Lily," she whispered. "Lily. Do you want to help me set up the next game?" he asked, crouching down to her level. A flicker of interest ignited her expression, and her lips quirked into a small smile. "Okay, I guess." Jack's heart swelled as they walked over together, this simple moment sparking something within him. It all felt bigger than just him, bigger than any of his worries. As the energy of the day surged, Jack became more grounded in the present, pushing back against the voice of doubt. Yet, even as the laughter echoed, a shadow lingered in the back of his mind. A question remained. What if, despite all the joy and laughter, one moment could change everything? Just as he turned back around, he overheard whispers behind him once more. "I don't think she should be doing that." His heart raced. What now? Jack's pulse quickened as he strained to listen to the murmurs just behind him. Curiosity tugged at his ears, but he forced himself to turn back to Lily, who was now breaking into a tentative grin. "What's next?" she asked, her shyness slowly melting away as they continued to walk. "That sack race over there." He pointed towards a line of colorful burlap sacks waiting for their first participants. For a moment, the shadows of uncertainty receded, replaced by her bubbling excitement. He directed her to set up the area while he moved back to check on the other games. The moment he turned, however, he couldn't shake the whispers that still echoed in his mind. Hadn't he just been talking to Mrs. Taylor about how much these kids needed opportunities like this? As he crossed the playground, he spotted Mia and Max leading a blindfolded game, their laughter resonating as they encouraged their teammates. Then, from the corner of his eye, he caught sight of Mrs. Taylor, standing nearby with another parent. Their expressions, frowns creasing their brows, set off alarm bells in his head. "Do you really think they should be doing this?" Another voice chimed in, sharper than the others. Jack's heart sank. He approached with a cautious smile, determined to bring positivity. "Hey, everything's going great," he said, attempting to radiate enthusiasm. "Oh, is that what you think?" the dad replied, skepticism heavily laced in his tone. "It just seems a bit reckless. Kids running around blindfolded. It's a disaster waiting to happen." Before Jack could respond, Mrs. Taylor rushed in. "But look how much fun they're having. That's what this is about, right?" "Fun is one thing," the parents snapped back, "but safety is another. You're the one in charge, Jack. You have to ensure these games are safe." Jack stood there, feeling the weight of their words pressed down on him. The laughter around him dimmed, and for a brief moment, the joyful chaos felt like a ticking clock, counting down to some inevitable disaster. He squared his shoulders and focused on maintaining his calm, but inside his stomach twisted with anxiety. "I hear your concerns," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "But I believe in giving these kids the chance to be free and creative. They need these moments to grow and learn." "What if something happens, Jack?" Mrs. Taylor questioned, her voice softer yet filled with trepidation. "Then what?" He took a deep breath, ripping his gaze away from the kids and locking eyes with them. There was Mia, shouting encouragement. Max was running too fast in excitement. And Lily? She was bouncing in place, her earlier hesitation forgotten. The sight was enough to flood his heart with warmth and a twinge of determination. "It's worth it," Jack finally said, his heart racing not just from fear but from a newfound resolve. "They need this day. We all do." Just then, he heard a clap of laughter erupt from the three-legged race, a cascade of pure joy. It was infectious. You're about to see something amazing, he added, a confident smile breaking through his earlier anxiety. But just as he started to turn away, the sharpness of the other parent's voice pierced through the laughter. It was laced with urgency and authority. You're playing with fire, Jack. And when it burns, you'll have nowhere to hide. Jack's heart faltered again, the weight of the world pressing heavily on him. Could he really handle this? He took one last glance at the kids. The warmth had reignited in his chest, pushing back against the uncertainty. But would it be enough to prove the doubters wrong? As he turned to face the games once more, he couldn't shake that lingering doubt. Time was moving fast, and he knew he had to act soon. Before he could second-guess himself again, he overheard another hushed whisper. Is she really supposed to be in that? The chilling question hung in the air like a dark cloud. What did they mean? Jack's heart raced again, but this time it wasn't just from the pressure of the parents' worries. That question hung there like a fog, clinging to him. Lily? What were they talking about? He didn't see anything that seemed off about her. She was laughing, her carefree spirit shining as she prepared for the sack race. He turned to Mrs. Taylor and the other parent. What do you mean? The other dad shrugged, his frown deepening. I mean Lily. Should she really be in the middle of all this? You know how fragile some kids can be. Jack's stomach twisted. Fragile? Was that what they thought of her? He hardly knew her story, her struggles. But seeing her happiness made him want to protect it at all costs. She's having a blast. This is what these kids need. It's about promoting confidence. Mia broke away from the group, excitement painting her cheeks the color of the setting sun. Jack. We're ready. See? He called back, clinging to the flicker of certainty amidst the doubt that circled like vultures overhead. But Mrs. Taylor spoke again, softer this time. I know you mean well, Jack. But her joy doesn't erase the risks, especially with unknown kids involved. He glanced back at Lily. She was beaming now, waving her arms as she bounced up and down in her sack. The world seemed to fade around her, the laughter mixing with her shouts. It was beautiful. As if she sensed his thoughts, Lily caught his gaze and grinned wider. In that moment, Jack saw more than just a child. He saw resilience, a spirit fighting against the odds. She deserved these moments as much as anyone else. Every little victory was a step towards something greater. Jack breathed deep, grounding himself. She deserves this. He said, and his voice rang with conviction. We can't let fear dictate their fun. Look at her, she is thriving. But even as he spoke, his heart wavered. What if something did go wrong? What if her spirit broke instead of shined? Suddenly, the air changed. Laughter roared from the direction of the blindfolded game. A loud crash followed, and a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Jack spun around, dread washing over him. Mia stumbled backward, colliding with one of the makeshift banners, sending it tumbling to the ground. She hit the ground hard, and the laughter that had flowed like a river moments before morphed into a stunned silence. Is she okay? Jack rushed towards the chaos, the warmth that had filled his chest now replaced with ice. The crowd paused, eyes glued to Mia who lay on the grass, shaken but not still. Slowly, she pushed herself up, brushing dirt from her arms and shaking her head like a disoriented puppy. A small laugh burst from her lips, relaying relief. See? Mia called out, even as Jack reached her side. I'm fine. Just a little surprise. He let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding, but the whispers continued around him. The skepticism had multiplied, the crowd sharpening back into focus around him. Why are we even letting them play these games? Didn't he think this through? Every word felt like a jab. Jack's resolve faltered. Lily and Mia. They deserved brighter days, but what if he was failing them? Just then, Lily's bright voice rang through the tension. Are we racing? Everyone's okay, right? He looked at her, the light shining from within her. Inspired, he took a step forward, clinching onto that flicker of hope. Yes. Let us race. Who's with us? Murmurs flared, but before he could question him, he felt the warmth sweeping back in. But the question echoed louder in his mind: was he wise enough to handle the responsibility they'd entrusted him? As the excitement stirred once more around him, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at stake today, something that would test him more than just facilitating fun. And then, from the shadows, he saw a figure watching closely. Their eyes seemed to hold secrets that threatened to upend everything. Jack's heart dropped. Who were they? And what did they know about Lily that he didn't? The rest of the afternoon rushed by in a whirlwind of noise and laughter, but Jack's heart remained tethered tight with anxiety. Despite the cheers from Mia, Max, and the other kids, that shadowy figure lingered at the edge of the playground, watching with an intensity that clawed at his confidence. As the sack races turned into tug-of-war, and a potato sack turned into a small boat of joy, Jack felt his earlier doubts swirl like autumn leaves caught in wind. For every laugh from the children, anxiety clawed at him harder. Then it happened. The figure emerged, stepping out from the shadows and strolling towards Jack with determination. It was one of the parents, James, proprietor of a small tech business, who blended into the crowd with unassuming ease. But today, his glare was sharp. "What's happening here, Jack?" he asked, voice steady but heavy with accusation. "Do you even know who these kids are? Especially Lily?" The moment hung in the air, taut with tension as the joyous rhythm of children's laughter faded away into the background. Jack felt exposed, like a spotlight aimed solely at him, the warmth of community suddenly feeling like a cold judgment. "I know Lily's a kid who deserves the same joy as anyone else," he replied, trying to keep his voice strong. James shook his head slowly. "You don't understand. She's been through so much. This isn't just fun for her, it's a break from something very real, very painful. She needs stability, not chaos." Jack's heart dropped, realization washing over him like a wave. Of course, he had seen her joy before, it had been infectious. But he had missed how fragile that delight could be. He swallowed hard, the weight of the truth feeling heavier than any gold bar in his possession. "And yet, isn't that the beauty of today?" he said, swallowing his unsteady breath. "To give her the opportunity to embrace joy not like this," James interrupted, crossing his arms tight against his chest. "Children need boundaries, Jack. They need guidance, not opportunism." A chill settled in Jack's bones. This wasn't about competition, this was about trust. Mia and Max had believed in him, and now so many watched, waiting to see if he could uphold that trust. With every moment that passed, the children remained oblivious to the emotional tempest brewing just out of sight. Jack's heart raced as he assessed everything. "I'll learn from this," he said, voice steadying into a resolve. "I can still create joy without jeopardizing their safety. Today is about them. I need to listen, not just to my ideas but to their needs." There was a flicker in James's eye, something like respect, but Jack pushed past that moment. "But to do that, I need the community's input. I need your help. Let us create a safe space for them while keeping it fun." James studied him for a long moment, and the surrounding kids shifted impatiently, the tension coursing through them like a midsummer thunderstorm. Jack felt their confusion, a mix of worry and anticipation, each of them hanging onto their own dart of hope. Then James nodded slowly. "All right, but I'm going to be involved. This is bigger than just today. You still have time, Jack. Learn what they need." Jack's heart soared. This was a step forward. A chance to rebuild trust instead of harboring doubt. "Absolutely, thank you," he replied, knowing that this fractal moment could forge a bond he had yet to grasp. "What is going on?" Mia asked, skipping up to them, curiosity shining in her eyes. "Just finding our way forward," Jack replied, bending down to meet her gaze. He felt his chest swell. "And you're part of that, kiddo. All of you." As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting it canvas-like shades of orange and purple, Jack saw the children, now re-engaging in laughter as they resumed racing toward the finish line. Suddenly, all at once, Jack felt the irrepressible urge to shout their victory from the rooftops. "Excited for Community Dreams Day?" he bellowed, lifting his arms to rally them. The children, filled with infectious enthusiasm, broke into squeals of excitement, the very essence of hope lifting them all higher. As the breeze tousled his hair, Jack realized he was no longer on the brink of fear but standing solidly on the road of transformation. Here, this day beneath fading light, he saw the flicker in Mia and Max's eyes, one of faith. And then in Lily's smile, pure resilience. This journey was just beginning, a promise standing firm in his heart, to forge real connections, to embrace the uncertainties with courage, to lift them up as they had lifted him. As the echoes of laughter rang around him, Jack felt a mixture of nervousness and exhilaration, knowing that with every step he took, he was stitching together a narrative not just of himself but for Mia, Max, Lily, and the entire community, a story blossoming under bright skies and vibrant hues. He could be better. He could be a true force of good in their lives. Hope coursed through him as he shouted for the race to continue, the raucous laughter threading through the air, promising that brighter days lay ahead. So he embraced the reality this was the beginning of something larger than himself, where community and dreams intertwined to build an unbreakable bond of actually trusting each other, step by step. And for the first time, Jack believed in that light that shone ahead, one full of promise and connection. Now was the moment to transform. But only if everyone moved together. Together. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories filled with inspiration and transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and let the world know. Comment below and share your reactions and feelings about this emotional journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.